Welcome to this week's episode of Nitty Gritty. Super excited. We have Shea and Syd McGee, the world famous authors, TV show, everything. You guys have, I don't know that you could have like an official bio because there's just everything with what you guys have going on right now. But thank you so much for coming down. This is going to be a ton of fun. So my wife is very extremely jealous that I'm sitting here talking to you guys. I didn't even tell you. So we're in the process of building a house, and there is a lot of Studio McGee in our house right now. Okay. And so she was like, hold on, they're really coming.
You mean like
show.
Pictures of them?
Yeah,
just all over your house?
Like portraits.
Oh, okay. That's so nice.
Like what all the art is.
Yeah.
It's just portraits.
That's so nice.
So, but thanks guys. And we have a special guest host.
This is Cam. Hello. Hello guys.
With Anna this week. So thanks Anna for being here.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm glad. It's fun to be asked and invited. So thanks.
So guys, first of all, I don't know really where to start with all this stuff going on, but I wanted to hear a little bit more about you guys growing up. I know we talk a little bit about it in your book, but kind of your background and maybe what helped get you to where you are now and kind of what things you're currently doing. And so neither of you grew up in Utah, right?
No.
Syd, you grew up in Texas? No, Shea.
Yes, I'm Shea.
I knew it.
I was actually going to ask that.
Hi,
how
I'm
often
Syd.
does that happen that people change your name?
People are always like, Syd, you're such a good designer. And I'm like, oh.
You're like, no, he's not.
She hates that. People are like, Shea, you're so good at business. I'm like, she is good at business. I don't know if they could be talking about me or her. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know.
So it happens a lot.
Yes, it does. A lot of S's. We have the same initials too. But yeah, I think that my path was not an entrepreneurial one. My dad was an FBI agent growing up, and my mom stayed home with us. And I am really logical. And so like the idea of going into a creative field was not something that crossed my mind. But I don't know. I think that if it wasn't for Syd's encouragement, I probably wouldn't be designing at all, because I went to BYU, I studied communications, and even though I wasn't really enjoying my career path, I feel like I was probably too afraid to switch. But then he saw how much I loved design and pushed me to change directions.
Well, kind of the comfortable thing is having a plan and sticking to and kind of knowing what steps are coming next. And
yeah,
I mean, that's comfortable and makes you feel safe, right?
Right.
When you have a plan that you can kind of fall back on.
What were you doing with communications? Like, what was that taking you to?
Yeah, so my emphasis was PR. So I graduated from BYU, and then I worked at a firm in Salt Lake doing PR. And then when we got married and I moved to California, I was working in the marketing world. And so really in hindsight, that served me so well to have that experience and background. But design wasn't a clear next step. My minor was in modern dance.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know. Design wasn't really on the radar.
Yeah.
So then when we got our first apartment, it was this crappy little condo in Laguna, and that was like my blank canvas, and I just could not stop talking about it. And Syd saw that. So
Yeah.
I'm like disappointed now that you don't dance on your show. Like I want to see like an empty room and just like a little modern interpretation of what you're going to put where. I'm just saying, think about it.
Like I grew up in Texas. I was like on the drill team. I had the fringe and all of it.
That's amazing.
And Syd, you grew up in California?
Yeah. So I grew up in like Huntington Beach, California. And I mean, I grew up working at like a surf shop, skate shop very early on just because my brothers did. And I was like, I just want to hang out with my brothers and they're cool and let's surf and do kind of the things that were more fun and enjoyable. And I think that it wasn't until like, after I was in school and figuring out what I was going to do. And my parents were like, hey, you kind of just need to like pay for yourself and support yourself. And I was like, okay, well then I'm just going to
When he says fun and enjoyable, like, he like calculated how many days he could skip school to go to Disneyland. Like that was like, he made the most of his high school experience.
I don't know how my parents like didn't take it more seriously when they got a call like almost every day saying like your student like missed this grade or whatever, missed the day.
Because you were
or
the
missed
youngest by how many years? Like 100
It was
years?
6 years
Yeah,
off
6
the
years.
tail end, right? So there's 5.
Yeah.
I had 5 siblings, older siblings, and then I'm like off the tail end by 6. But like they just let it go. Like
So did you get good grades though?
I graduated.
Shay shaking her head
high school. I graduated.
You graduated.
all that
Listen,
matters.
you
Who's
made it.
like who's
You
like
did
running
it.
around showing high school grades anyway?
I
Like
am,
no one's
all
like
the time.
It's like you just got through. We all did, right? So
Well, I did the same thing through high school. My fallback was like I managed good grades, and so my mom couldn't say anything. She was so mad. I mean, my day would start at Gandolfo's. It was a breakfast sandwich joint, and that's where we would start school. And I learned that if I brought a sandwich back for my teachers, I didn't have to do work that day. And so, yeah, it was awesome. And so
Jeez.
my mom would get mad. And I was like, well, you can't get mad. I have good grades. My teachers are happy.
Oh my gosh, you two need to have a podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, we just lost all power. Oh, this isn't good.
Apparently that was a bad idea. I'd take it back. You should not start a podcast about high school
This
graduating.
is actually really interesting.
this is nitty gritty after hours. Welcome.
Only Andrew is lit with his computers.
I'm going to go see what's going on.
That's crazy.
I hope.
It looks like there's.
What happened?
Are we back?
Cam turned the lights off because you put a U flag up. Like that was legit. That was Cam remotely turned off the power
You're
to.
joking.
No, he called me on the phone. He was like, "Take
Oh
that
my
flag
God.
down, or the lights are not coming back on."
Oh my gosh.
I apologize then. This is all my fault.
Oh my
We were
gosh.
right in the middle. I
sorry about
had
that.
to. I
Just
couldn't.
keeping it real.
I
That
just
was
had to have my own background because I just couldn't do this. I look at it all the time.
I didn't think he could really do that.
That's hilarious.
But he did.
What a turd.
Okay.
I hope you're still recording because what a turd.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It didn't. All right. Well, sorry about
Yes.
all that.
Where were we? We were talking about something.
We were just talking about
high
like
school.
gaming life and getting
Yeah.
by. without
Sid
having
barely
to-
graduated.
That's definitely like that's my like life ethos. It's just Shay was very like, here's my plan, follow the rules, that's how you win. And mine was just like, there's always a way around these stupid rules because every rule was pretty much stupid. So let's just figure this out.
Tell me
There's
what
always
you
a
want me
way.
to do, and then I'm going to figure out another way to get it done.
Yeah.
Just because I don't want to listen to what you told me to do.
Exactly. Or it was like, hey, like I was like, hey, let's just sneak up to the front of the concert. She's like, no, you can't. You have to have a special pass, and you have to like follow the rules. And then I'm like, let's just go. We'll talk to the guy. We'll see if we can get up there, you know. And it would work out. And she's like, oh,
The
freaking
difference
hate that it
is
works for you
if
every time.
I go to the front of the line. They're like, "Ma'am, we're going to escort you out of the building."
You're like,
And then
"Okay,
if
sir,
Sid
sorry."
Sid does. They're like, "Oh, come on in." And so we make a good team because
I'm lucky.
you are lucky.
I told her that before we got married. I'm like, babe, I don't know if I'm really good at anything, but I'm lucky, and it always works out. She's like, okay.
You always got to have a friend like that, though.
yeah.
That can get you to the front. So how did that work when you guys
Yeah.
met? I mean, being
How
so
did you meet?
opposite.
Yeah. How did you meet? First of all,
We would not have dated in high school. Sid was like punk rock, jet black dyed hair. Like he would like it was like
Just surfer, skater
surfer
kid.
skater. He wore skinnier jeans than I could have ever pulled off.
oh, that's the ticket.
Yeah,
jeans.
it was a jeans.
It was the jeans.
It was the jeans. And then he played intramural soccer with my brother. So he was at UVU, and I went to go help my brother at Helaman Halls move out of his dorms into his big boy apartment. And Sid went to go help, and on my way over, my brother was like, "My friend Sid's gonna be there. He's gonna help, and you're gonna like him, but don't, because he's my friend." And
But
then
don't
like
don't like him because he's my friend.
Thanks, bro.
Like, thanks, yeah. And then I pulled in, and there he was, and he was standing on a skateboard. And honestly, I think we went out on our first date the next night. Sid asked for my phone number in front of my mom.
In front of the
And
mom.
I just want to know what
Yeah.
your brother said.
And
when it
my
was the
brother,
next day,
well,
when he's like,
he's
"Don't
just like already
him."
like rolling his eyes,
day.
of course.
Just keeping it casual, you know. Let's just hang out.
I love that it was in front of her mom that you got her number.
Yeah.
Well,
Bold.
I was taking advantage of the window of
No
opportunity,
fear.
right? So it was just like, hey,
I was, like,
you're cool.
mortified.
We should hang out sometime. Like, let me just
And
get
she
your
just
number,
like,
you know?
I just remember her face like just like, I can't believe this is happening. But
That's such a look your mom would make right there.
so we like within weeks, when we were hanging out every day, just became the best of friends and dated off and on for a long time. For Provo standards.
For
And-
Provo standards.
2.5 months.
Yeah, exactly. 2 years.
Years. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I gave him a run for his money. I was just scared to get married, and Syd had no plan.
It wasn't part of your plan. Did that kind of scare you? Like his lack of a plan?
His lack of a plan.
'Cause my
was
wife is
absolutely terrifying.
Very
to me.
much like you.
Yeah.
I'm very much like you. And
Yeah.
she checklist for every day,
Yeah.
every item. I'm just like, no,
Yeah.
please not do that.
Yeah.
And if she doesn't, she grew up in the same house for 18 years. I moved 25 times by the time I graduated college, so it's very,
Yeah.
very polar opposite in that area.
Yeah.
But it works out sometimes.
Like
because you
all
can
the
balance
things,
each other off, right?
Yes,
'Cause
all the
sometimes,
things I
it's
loved about
you
him
should probably have a
terrified me.
plan. And then there's also the other side where it's everything didn't go according to plan. I'm freaking out. It's just a little bit of both, I should probably have more of a plan than I do. And I help her just say it's going to be okay. We get through it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that really helped in leading to where we ended up and has helped continuously throughout our business. Is just we've set a plan, and all throughout that time, things shift all the time. The plan that we had set changes a lot. Things that we were going to do didn't work out. And so I think we had to really just rely on that. It was good to have a plan so we could build our teams and have our structure, but also just be hey, we're really flexible. If it doesn't work, we're going to run with it, and we're fine. We'll just do it in a different way or a different time.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, I always say plan to pivot. That's part of my plan is pivot. You have to, or else you'll be frustrated and sad and feel like a failure. But
Yeah.
life is not one easy row.
It's
easy
never
lane.
linear. Ever.
No.
It never goes in a
That's
straight
cool.
line.
What would you say has been a big pivot or a big change in your plan that was great for you guys that you weren't planning on, but it just changed, opened what you're doing now or what you dreamt to do?
Studio McGee in and of itself was a pivot for us. If it wasn't for Syd leaving his job and us deciding to go into business together because we were kind of in a rough spot, we wouldn't be here. But then from there, honestly, it was every month is a new
Yeah,
pivot.
we only pivoted 26 times.
Yeah.
We got here and we came to Utah. We had just sold everything, and we thought it's so much less expensive to live here. We'll buy a small fixer-upper and we'll use that to market our business because, lots of people on Instagram and in their blogs, they document the process, and then that's how they get a following. So that was our marketing strategy. And then we came here, and because we had just started Studio McGee, no one was going to give us a loan. So we were well, crap, what are we going to do? That was our marketing plan. So I guess that's not going to work. And just time after time, when we tried to launch our e-commerce business the first time, no vendors would let us sell their product on the internet. The furniture industry is not trusting of the internet. And
They just weren't going to let you just sell it online, huh?
no. So then that scrapped the e-commerce plan for a couple of years. And,
Then
I could just go
failed
on.
e-commerce website. The initial one, after spending a year and a bunch of money on it, sucked. And then we had to ditch it after a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Or we got it for a month and then ditched it and rebuilt a new one. And that was a big change. We just took the site offline completely because it kept breaking anyway. So
That's
we're
what's so fun about this is hearing this, because so many people easily look from the outside and say, oh, you guys have done all of these things. It must be so easy. You never get stuff wrong. But it's so fun to learn more about the trials and the failures that get people to where they are, as opposed to just kind of skating their way there, right?
Yeah, I think it was a repeat pattern that we always saw. We had our plan. We really wanted to get into product. We tried to do product, and the people shut us down. Hey, either like we don't want to open any more like retailers online, or making like ridiculous requirements like you got to buy like $25,000 worth of our stuff to like open an online account, knowing that we were like new and there's no way we could afford that. And so I think that was like, we recognized this pattern of us always wanting to do something very like ambitiously and then being like shut down by somebody. And then we like kind of come back to like our hotel room and like, you know, lick our wounds and just like, dang, that sucked, right? And then that lasts for a little bit. We like grab dinner and then we talk again. Then we're like, dang, you know what? Screw them. Like, we're going to freaking show those guys. Like, we're going to do whatever it takes to where we're so good they can't like ignore us. Like, so if what
That
we
was
have
like your
now,
bulletin board material right there.
yeah,
Right.
totally. And so, I mean, that's what we would do is like, hey, right now we have the design like avenue in front of us. Let's take that and we'll build it through using social as to be like the best designers and show what we can showcase, what we can do, and really be like a new age take on what that is, and bring a lot of the audience along with us and do that in a way that's new. Right. And so I think we built that enough that after like a year or two, we came back to these same furniture markets and they were like, we've heard about this social media thing. We've heard we need to do it. Like, how do we do it? Like, you tell us how to do it and we'll let you sell our stuff, you know? And so they were trying to make all these bargains and deals. But I think that was just something like a pattern that we recognized was like, at first we'll get bummed out and then we get mad and then we really like get to work and figure out how we're going to accomplish like that goal eventually anyways, you know?
Yeah, you prove yourself.
Even if it's like a long way around, right? And not that like quick way. So, yeah.
I actually have a question about that. It's something that I hear female entrepreneurs talk about a lot is, when does your spouse join you? That's the hardest thing for so many businesses to understand or to know. When is that moment where you're all in as a couple? And what happened? How did that happen?
Maybe
when did that happen?
Their spouse should never join them sometimes.
Right. That's
They
my
still
husband.
want them to be their spouse, right?
Right. That's what I'm asking. Like, my husband, we keep changing the amount that, okay, when I make this much, then you're going to join, and it keeps getting higher and higher and higher. We're like, should we do this together? So
Because I think sometimes there's going to be like, does the relationship lend to that? And I
Right.
think like that was one thing when I look at that, and then I'll let you chime in, Shay, is like, we were fortunate enough to like, we got along really well. Way prior to any of the business conversations. And I think sometimes people have a relationship that works really well as like a spouse dynamic, and really ends up trading that off for like a business partner relationship, right? Because if you don't have the relationship that will sustain it, very quickly you're just like, here's my roles, here's your roles.
Yes.
And we're working it all the time. And if we have kids as well, then we just then do like a mom and dad role to our kids, and you forget to be like a husband or a wife to your spouse, right? And that's something that even with our strong relationship, like, was hard in the first couple of years of business. Was like we put ourselves fully into the business, and then had to take a step back and be like, hey, we need to make sure that we
It was like
look out for
business
each other
and
as
kids.
well, you know?
And then we kind of got lost in there, I feel like, in
like
the
whatever left over
first
time.
couple years, until we had, you know, a moment where we like both knew we were losing ourselves in the process. But I think that the other thing is, what does your spouse bring to the table that's different from what you're bringing to the table? Because for us, that's the only way it works. Syd is not coming into the picture to co-design homes with me. He's coming in to complement and do all the things that I'm not really good at. He came in, and I think we got a taste of that early on because I had started my design business. I was completely overwhelmed with work, working day and night, and said, hey, can you help me with some of this? And he realized that most of my time was actually being spent on the business and not on the creative side.
Sure.
And I wasn't doing that great of a job at the business, but I was spending most of my time running it. And we realized that my skills are the creative design aspect and then the marketing aspect. And what Syd is good at is everything else, and I'm not. And so for us, we have very little overlap. And by very little, I mean there's no overlap in our roles. Yeah. So we can go a whole day of work without talking to each other because we've
focused on totally
completely
different parts
focused
of
on
the
different.
business.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And the wonderful thing about working with your spouse, at least for me, is that like I have implicit trust.
Mm-hmm.
I know that we're not spending any time together during the day while Syd's on calls and I'm doing other things, but I know we have the same vision.
Well, you don't have to worry about that side of the business because of that trust, which I think is a really hard place to get for a business owner, is the ability to almost delegate that off and take that weight off of your chest and trust that it's going to get done.
Right. And so for me, I would ask those questions.
Like, what do they add? What's different? Right.
Yes, because that's for us why it works.
Mm-hmm.
I know we would argue if we were trying to do the same things in the business.
Totally.
Like if he was telling you what designs to do, you stepped in and said,
like operationally, and I think we like to share ideas, get some feedback, do some consulting with each other, but that's about it.
Yeah. And when you find that you are going too much business and kids and you forgot about you two together, what do you usually do, or how do you check in?
I mean, I think it was when
it first happened, it was like we were both crying for attention and we were just exhausted and bickering, and just at a certain point we were on a trip alone for work and we were like out to dinner and it was like, oh my gosh, is this a date? Like we're only talking about work.
Yeah.
You know, is this a work meeting or is this a date? And it was like, wow, we're not even dating each other anymore. We're at this amazing restaurant in New York and we're like not taking a break from work. And so I think that became clear. And now as we've navigated that, for me, I feel like we just speak up, like put your phone down.
Right.
Like I'm over here and I don't want to talk about work, or we're in the car and going, somewhere. And it's like, no, I don't want to talk about that right now. We just have to be very blunt.
I feel like I need to have topics of conversation, almost like those little table topics for dinner, because otherwise it's like kids work. Because then we're at a date and I'm thinking, I don't really like, so you're watching the Jazz? Because I'm not. So tell me about it, I guess. Or like, tell me the latest of the music industry. I don't know. Like, but then I feel like, okay, we got to like have topics.
You get into a groove, but it could be quiet for a few minutes.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Almost like a first date, because you're like, I don't know how to answer this question.
Yeah. We're good now. I mean, we got like the royal family giving us lots to talk about.
Oh my God.
Talk about that.
I got
it's like,
Bitcoin. Shay knows very little about it, even though I tell her about it all the time.
Yes.
It's great because I can revisit that subject 100 times and she still doesn't quite get it. So
after today, you're going to have The Simpsons, right?
Simpsons,
We're
yes.
go watch
We talked about The Simpsons.
Current season Meghan Markle.
Right?
So,
well, we can talk Meghan Markle.
Silly,
I'm ready.
You have to have those non-work topics.
Totally.
And at first it was quite like we had a lot more of like, we decided, hey, we're not going to talk business at that dinner. And then we kind of just sat there.
Yeah. Because your brain's like, what else do I have in here?
What do we do?
Yeah.
We've been talking about business for 3 years, like straight. And so it's fun. It's been fun to rediscover that. And I think that
I think was also really good for our relationship was like stuff outside of our relationship that were just for us personally. Like when we were starting the business and we were so into it, like we dropped everything. It was like we weren't working out. We weren't doing anything for ourselves individually. And then it was a realization like Syd needs an outside activity. I can do yoga in our living room and clear my head. But for him, he needs to go like on a bike,
skateboard,
outside, skateboard, do something, and
anything,
but it has to be outside. And so we know that a key to happiness individually is also a good indicator of our health.
Sure.
Totally.
Together.
So we try to be pretty mindful of that and like, hey, like you go do your thing, go get your nails done, go whatever. Like I got the kids. Like I'll make time for you to have your time
with no resentment.
And she does the same,
Right.
because we know that that's important and that that pays dividends in a lot of different places. So
Yeah. I always hear people talk about like this work-life balance. And that was something I struggled with for a long time, was this balance. And in my head, I would always picture a scale. It's like when you balance it, it's because the two are even or equal. And so someone changed that word for me, and it was work-life harmony. And like all of a sudden that flipped the switch for me. So it's like different times in the business, in your life, you're going to have more hours here or more hours there. But if you find that spot where you feel like you're in harmony between the two, it's really powerful.
Yeah.
And so that was always big. And it's always hard, as spouse, as, where does that line live, right?
Yeah, that's nice. Because if as an alto, as an alto, no, but sometimes you really are singing the same note and it's a really boring line, right? But then you put it together with the soprano and you're like, that's so beautiful. But the soprano's like all over the place. There you go. There's your little music. You can have that at your next table,
Thank
your
you.
date night
Thanks.
about music. There you go. Yeah.
So I have a question, because something really interesting in your book, you talk about like your first job. And I think it's so cool to see this to what you have now, like decorating a bookshelf. Like that was the first job you did. I mean, how does that turn into the empire that Studio McGee is? I mean, in your wildest dreams that day, could you have imagined what you've built?
No, because I was just grateful someone asked for my opinion.
Yeah.
Like I was so excited that someone even trusted my taste level enough to come adjust things on their bookshelves. And I didn't have those, and my ambitions were smaller, and Syd's definitely, I think that we have differing ambitions, but Syd always thought bigger than I could have. But, people always ask me this, because this like, where do I start? I was like, well, you just start anywhere. You start in your own home, and then it becomes bookshelves. And then one step at a time, you gain a little bit more credibility. So I started with the bookshelves. And then the next project was helping with a one room project. And then that one room project becomes two. And then all of a sudden you're doing full houses. And then you're doing full houses and working with the architect to actually develop the plans from the ground up. And I think that over the course, I started that bookshelf project how many years ago?
almost 8. Right?
Yeah, 8, 9 years ago. And so one step at a time. And it didn't happen overnight, even though in some ways it can kind of feel that way.
Sure.
But it was definitely one room, one step, one mistake at a time.
What's interesting about like design in general, and tell me I could be way off base, basically you get paid to think. For your brain, right? It's like, because they want to know like your ideas and how things go together. But it's not, I mean, in the beginning, it's not like I'm selling you a physical product and that's what I'm like being compensated for. It's more like, how should I do this, or where does this go? And there's a lot of science behind it.
Well, in the beginning, they really don't care about your opinion either. I think that that's the other thing too, is like when you starting out, I knew this at the time. It was frustrating, but no one trusted me. They saw that I had some sort of fashion sense. They could see that.
Yeah.
That I could put things together, and that I was inexpensive. Right? I wasn't charging the going rate. So I was essentially a glorified assistant that happened to have good taste because I was bossed around a lot. And I don't mean that in a negative way, because that's just how it is. When you start out, you haven't established the portfolio of homes to back up, hey, I'm a good designer, because I probably wasn't really that good of a designer. I hadn't done that much. And so I think that, people were paying for me to run around, buy accessories.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, now it is that input and that thought that I'm hired for.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that way.
I love that it was a shelf, because that totally adds up. When you think about like a marathon and everyone shows the end of the marathon, right? And you're not showing not just you starting the marathon, you practicing, like getting off the couch and running, but you found something that most people don't know how to do. a simple thing. Most people, do you know how many times I search on Pinterest for shelf ideas, right? Because I have all these shelves and I'm like, I just want some more inspiration. And it's not like design my whole house. It's helped me with this small little problem. And then, like you said, like a bigger problem and a bigger problem. And everyone thinks they want a show or everyone thinks they want a book. But no, solve a small problem and then solve the next problem, and then it grows. And I love that. It was a small problem that most people have, which is a shelf. Everyone's got a shelf.
Everyone's got a shelf.
I love it.
Love your shelf. Yeah.
Love it. Oh my gosh. If you don't make that a shirt, I will. You've had that shirt?
That's my job. That's my second job. Like, just make puns all day.
Oh, wow.
The dad jokes.
I like that one, like really felt my heart. It hit my heart. I was like, oh my gosh, love your shelf. I love that one.
Shay loves
Shelf.
it.
So how did you know, like, when you were growing the business, that Instagram was going to be your ticket? Like, what made you
It was
feel
the first ticket.
the first ticket?
So it was what put me on the map. Like I was definitely one of the very first people who saw Instagram as an opportunity as a designer. So we had, discovered this like cool new app, and we were posting pictures for like friends and family, still using the brown filters, like that. It was like that time. And I posted a picture of those bookshelves and got the most comments that I had ever received on just, I had a couple hundred followers, but it was clear that the interest in what my side hustle was, that interest was there. And I realized with my marketing experience and no money that this is a free way. I didn't have to build a website yet. I could put pictures on there anytime I wanted if I could learn how to take photos. And so that I took a class, an online class on, taking my own photos, and then just started posting them. And that following started growing very quickly. There was no such thing as the algorithm changing.
Yeah.
And I mean, followers.
You used to see everybody's pictures
You
in
could see
order.
everybody's pictures in order.
It's
Yeah,
crazy.
there
You
were
could,
no
like, get to
It was
the
no
end.
such thing as a story.
Yeah.
So you could do more behind the scenes in your feed. And Syd was like, it still is, listens to every single business podcast, reads all the books, and he was like,
I heard this thing's like,
I've been listening to Gary Vee, and he's been saying like, there's this thing, like Instagram really, I feel like it could be really good for you. Like, but you got to post every day and you got to engage with people. And I was like, I have to respond to all these questions about paint color,
How many times am I to say the same thing?
Right. Well,
and Shay went to
because-
town though on that.
yeah. And I heeded that, but that was contrary to the design industry at the time. Like,
Totally.
no one shared anything.
Well, it's like you're divulging all of your secrets, right?
It was exclusive, right? If you
Right.
want it, you got to hire me.
Yeah.
If you want it, buy my book.
Yes,
but not just
that's
here's my
exactly what
Sherwin
it
Williams
used to be.
color.
Was like
Totally.
this, like tier design used to be like an exclusive kids club. Like, hey, I have all the secrets. I have all the sources. If you want that, then like that's what you're going to pay me like a lot of money for, right? Because that's what it was built on previously, and I think Shay really helped open that up to be like, okay.
And of course, we still have some secrets, but we're also willing to share a lot as well. And so with that encouragement, I was like, okay, fine, let's do this. And I could see the numbers just building quickly. And in hindsight, it's kind of crazy that we had like 30,000 followers, and that gave us the confidence to sell our home in California, our cars, and our things.
Well,
to
30,000 a while ago.
business.
Pretty big time, you
But
know?
at the time, it was like a really big deal.
Sure.
We'd go to the grocery store. Yeah, you maybe heard of us.
We have 30,000 followers on it.
We're like, that's pretty much everybody we run into, right? But no, it was fun.
But
But comparatively, right, in context with
Yeah.
what was going on in the industry, like there's huge companies that didn't have,
Right.
they'd have like 5,000 followers or something,
Yeah.
10,000 followers.
So
Yeah.
it was gaining speed. We could see the traction. I was very busy, and then I begged Syd for a long time, and he had been working with his brother, and he was like, I am never working with family again. And I'm like, okay, well,
So I have an idea.
I have this idea though. So eventually got him on board.
Yeah. Yeah, it just, I mean, I think when I came in, I started to see like, this is a good opportunity here, because like she's got so much coming in, and she's got more business than she can really handle right now. So, I feel comfortable in the operational space. Like, let me just take this. I know you've saved 13,000 folders to your desktop because she saved every file to the desktop. And it's like, I'll just start pulling through this and getting it organized and getting invoices out and setting up accounts. And okay, like, I feel really comfortable in that space. I don't know anything about the design world, but I know, like, we can organize this. I'll take care of that. And you can run the creative, right?
And it's always been like scalability. We gotta do something that scales. And I was like, yeah, but how do
there's only one of me.
Like, how do you scale you?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And so that's kind of been this. It hasn't been an issue, but like that's always a challenge with the creative industry is how you scale that. And so,
but I love that because I love. There's a book by Ryan Holiday called like The Obstacle is the Way. I think that like I continue to see that always like, so, okay, you know, there's problems in our business, but really that's like showing you the way, because if we can figure out how to overcome that, then we're like off to the races. We have a good business here. Like, that's awesome. Right. So I think we've figured out how to overcome that challenge as best we can, right? We've built a really competent team that's great, that has a really strong relationship with Shea, knows the taste and design that we want to go, and can take it like, most of the way there. And then Shea will help guide it the rest of the way. And that's working really well. And that allows us to take on as many projects as we do. And that's definitely been the way with like our product side as well, figuring out how to, as you say, like Shea gets paid for her thoughts and her creative ideas. And so how do we build a team that's set up to, work with her, extract those ideas, and then run and take it the rest of the way.
And represent her and not put in their own ideas, right? Because that gets tricky after a while, wouldn't it, in this industry? Like,
I think that's one thing I love about the way we've set up what we do is that collaboration is like
key.
Collaboration is key.
Yeah, sure.
But
I got that tattoo on my back. I'm just kidding.
On your
so,
oh my gosh,
there was a phase, okay, guys.
yeah, we have a team of tastemakers essentially, and they share a lot of similar ideas and see a lot of trends and concepts the way I see them. Like, yes, that's where we want to go. No, that's not, but it's not just me like dictating like, this is the furniture piece that we're going to make. It's like we all bring ideas, and ultimately I have the end say. You kind of have to have that, or else you're just walking circles through a brainstorming session. But because we have these tastemakers that share the same vision, we're able to scale. So you have someone who focuses specifically on just decorative accessories.
That's true.
And then someone who shares that same vision with just, upholstery pieces. And so that is, but it's also why we can't scale design past where we have had to really rein that in, keep it small. And there was a time when we said yes to everything, and now it's like I can only handle a couple of projects, and that was an obstacle. And then our solution was design becomes really a marketing tool for our business more than it is the thing that scales, because product is.
So is that what led to all the other developments that Studio McGee is today? Is like trying to find that scale.
Yeah. So we actually, when we started, we really wanted to do e-commerce from the get-go. Okay. Syd was like very all about it. But then that's when we got turned down. Mm-hmm. And so it ended up being a later thing, but it was actually the best thing that could have happened to us was getting turned down, because we were able to build our reputation in the design industry and have trusting customer base, and through social media, so that when we did launch product, there was a hunger and a thirst for what we were putting out there, instead of us just telling people we're these new guys and this is our new product.
I've used you guys as examples in my classes often, because your target line, first of all, I want to know how it felt to see your body in Target, like a whole big, huge picture of yourself, number one. But number two, there's such an excitement when you launch and people go fast and it sells out. And so it creates that like scarcity mindset. And so even if you're not sure if you like it, you buy it. Because if
like
you
toilet paper.
think about it,
If it's there, you
let's
buy
call
it.
it, let's not say toilet paper
sure-
when we're talking about their
sorry.
designs. But let's like class it up a little bit.
on.
But it's like, it's brilliant because it's like, oh, it's already sold out. And people are sharing it, and the relationships you've had on Instagram, they're sharing it. And okay, but it's brilliant. So I've used it many times. I'm like, the way they launch with Studio McGee at Target is just so smart because it creates this scarcity and excitement. But first, how did it feel to see your full, like, it's like full size you?
Oh my gosh, Target is like my dream. Right. So when we first met with him, Syd was just dying because I know everything about Target. Like I am the customer.
Corner? Yeah.
Like I can reference the Hunter collaboration from 2014 with a surety about all the product and the Liberty bike that they put out. I remember the
Liberty bike.
I know I am a Target customer. So when they came in, like, this was not just, I mean, yes, it's a great business move, but for me, it's like just a dream to work with this company that I have admired.
Yeah, I can't imagine bigger.
So long.
Honestly, like, I cannot imagine something that feels more prolific, right? Than like having your you're a corner. Can we just say that? You're a corner of Target. There are only 4 of them.
No, yeah, there are not very many corners.
No, and like right there, I was just at Target yesterday and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's a freaking corner. Like I knew it, but I just realized it when I was there and I was like, man, like that's, I don't know. I mean, that's got to feel like, oh my gosh, that's me. I'm here.
Yeah. Well, and I think what makes it even better is that they're amazing to work with.
Yes.
And that is like just the honest truth. And they care so much about design. I didn't realize how much the thought goes into every single product. And once I visited the design teams and we started working on things, like I just realized like this is a dream on so many other levels I didn't even realize. But when I walk in, I mean, I have pictures of like my babies in the Target carts, like stacked with baskets, dreaming about one day being the Nate Berkus on the sign, right? And so to see that come to fruition is really, really wild. Like I can't help but, walk through that section and just feel like I need to pinch myself.
Wait, I just want to see someone seeing you walk through this section. Like, I bet that's a trip. Like, oh my gosh, she's shopping her own collection. Do they not send it to her? Like, does she not get any of this?
Or be like adjusting things like, oh wow, everything's sold out, and they put something else that
this
doesn't
isn't
belong.
mine.
This isn't mine. Let's scoot that out of there. But yeah. Masks, man. It's easy to hide behind the mask.
Mask and a hat.
Yeah, mask and a hat.
So question is, with your marketing and communications background, is it your idea or was it something collaborative with Target to have your launches the way you do? Because it's different than everyone else. They don't have kind of these new launches. What is it, every other month? Or am I throwing them?
It's every couple of months we do these launches. And the scarcity, I don't know that was intentional.
Yeah. Well, it's genius.
I mean, it's worked, but not that was intentional. But it was intentional to do our launches in a different way, where we incorporate social media. So their other partners are not creating special videos and tips and tricks, and we really wanted to carry what people know us for on social into that experience. And so, they're very interested in differentiating their partners, and so what makes Studio McGee different, and so that's where we honed in on those things.
I don't know anyone else that has a line at Target that does it the way you do, which I think is awesome, and it's one of those like new tricks for an old concept, right? And other people will have their line, and I don't even notice when there's something new. It kind of looks like it's shifted, but I don't really know, and this feels really aware. That this is new. This is the next stage of Studio McGee. So I think Yeah, I think
Have they
so.
not tried to like replicate that with other people, or is that something that when you guys
I think
like
it's a little
signed your
bit more
contract, you
native
kind of own it?
with us because of the social aspect.
Okay.
Right. Since we have like such a social presence across multiple platforms.
Yeah.
And then our audience is there. And then a lot of like people that we collaborate with often and partner with, like they're on social too. So a lot of that, would you agree? Like is,
Yeah.
through that way. And
I'd say it's not Instagram doing it. It's you guys doing it.
Right.
That's the difference.
Right. We're creating short form video content and things like that other people aren't. But that was already a part of like the model that we follow for McGee & Co. And so it's like an easy, whereas if someone else is going to try to do that, it would be like a very laborious process to
So
bring
many
in the,
new
you know,
things
so
for
many
them,
new
right?
things.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, I get that. So, how did you guys? I mean, you guys have to run. I know we're going to wrap up right now. Last question is Netflix the series. Congratulations, by the way.
Awesome.
It's awesome.
Thank
It's
you.
so much fun. It was fun watching you build Travis Hansen's house
yeah.
and the massive gym.
Yeah, I don't know him, but my son was super jealous of that basketball court.
So cool.
He's like, "Can we do that?" I'm like,
Could use a little bit more
bro.
time on the court.
Oh yeah, that's true. I can see that. Yeah,
But that was probably one of our more favorite, like one of my more favorite projects that we've done for a while. Just the whole house was cool. They were such really cool people, and we can talk about the Netflix show and how that came to pass. And someone had a plan, and we went to the meeting, and I wasn't ready to kind of go into
I
it.
only had a plan because when we first forayed into TV, it was a disaster of an experience. You have to say that. We were approached by a production company saying that they were representing HGTV, which they probably were, but when we first started, it was like we were a couple months in.
Oh my gosh,
and
we're
we're
going
like,
to do a show for HGTV.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
yeah.
okay, come on over.
We just want to be ourselves. Totally, just be yourselves. Do you have a hammer and like a sledgehammer and a helmet
And a basketball?
Like
I'm just
for
kidding.
business
Yeah,
stuff?
totally.
And they're like, yeah, just bring it with you.
You know, and
Just bring it with
they
you.
just described like we had to like cast a client and they were filming it, and you know they were doing like the angle where the camera guy would like lay on the ground and like get this upward shot of Syd like throwing stuff into the dumpster, and it was so bad. It wasn't us, and thankfully it didn't work out because it wasn't us. And then we swore we're never doing TV again.
It's stupid. We're just gonna do our own.
We're just gonna.
like,
So that's
make
how our
own
YouTube
stuff. Yeah.
channel started, actually. So
Okay.
I think when we talk about obstacles, like if we had not had that experience, we probably would have started a YouTube channel eventually, but it wouldn't have been with as much conviction, I think, to just figure out our way to do content.
We kind of did out of spite in a sense because they said no, and then we were
Yeah.
like,
Fine.
you guys, you
I'll
know?
show,
Who
I'll
said
show
no?
you.
And-
Netflix said
and
no,
then-
or
HGTV.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so then we were like, hey, we know video content is going to be an important thing going forward the next couple of years. That was the next kind of thing I was hearing about. I was like, we should look to hire a videographer with our contractor in-house or whatever, and let's just make our own videos. It can be short form and stuff.
Like we didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
We didn't have mics.
you hired stuff.
But you
We
just did it though. That was more
We
important.
did it.
That's
we started
the most
putting those
important
videos
thing.
out.
Is you
Yeah,
just did
you
it.
just started, and I think that's like that's been a huge factor in the last few years' growth, because we didn't wait until everything was perfect. We didn't wait until we could afford the fancy microphones and the camera. It was like,
Hey,
just
we have an iPhone.
talking about
over
these
here.
microphones.
you just
Mark,
do
you forget a
it, you know?
microphone.
You just
It's
do
great.
it.
We love
And then you, one step at a time, figure it out, because people yell at you on YouTube. It's echoing.
gosh.
Get the roto mic, and I'm like, okay, fine.
It's a Roto Mic G646. I'll put a link below.
Yeah, they always
Really nice.
So we did that, and then I guess we were able to show what we were all about, because then we got a meeting with Netflix, and
So were you reaching out to them
um
with like to pitch the show, or did they have an
no,
idea?
they said come in,
Okay.
and there was nothing about what it was about. I mean, obviously it was about a show,
Yeah.
but I kind of thought that they were going to be talking to us.
Yeah.
But as a just in case, I had our videographer make a sizzle reel to show what we were about, because last time when someone else made a sizzle reel for us, it went really poorly. So I was like, we have all this video content. We can just do something. So thank heavens, because we went into this meeting and they're like, so.
Oh my gosh. They called you. They had you come. And then they're like, what do you want to talk to us about?
So what do you guys
Oh my
have in
gosh.
mind for a show? And we're like,
Oh my goodness.
So it's like,
Avoiding
get
the
out the
shame.
binder, get out the binder.
It's a show
So-
about nothing.
Oh my gosh. Can you
I
imagine
get
what
out
put
the-
you
I was
through?
sweating and panicking. I was like, yeah, and we were really poor and we had like lots of credit. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, just stop talking for a second.
You
I was
said
like, we
this?
made
You
we
said I'm
got
poor?
this far. Like we worked really hard. And she was like, hold on. Okay. So then she's like, here's what we had in mind, you know?
Yeah.
And
Oh my
they
goodness.
love that.
I'm like, I have a
So were you
little
just like
clip.
winging it?
We haven't. We are like our.
I
Agent,
was
our
winging it.
agent
I always
was our
wing it.
agent
She
was
was-
there.
Yeah.
But he was just kind of letting us do our thing. He wasn't trying to be like, this is the next couple. It was just like he knew that I am like a preparer, so I
He
had
knew you were
my
gonna have something.
I had stuff, and so I had come up with a few ideas of like because everyone wants a format for a show, and formats are hard because they often put design couples in the contractor designer format. And we were very honest that wasn't us. And ultimately, we landed on this concept that evolved over time. And originally, it was going to be like 2 reveals an episode. And then everyone realized
That's a lot.
that's a lot. We tried to tell them that's a lot, but they were like, we're going to do it bigger and better, and I'm like, that's a lot of houses. But we ended up finding that a mix of big and small projects is really fun.
That's what's been so cool to watch, like
Yeah.
a basement theater or a 750,000 square foot house with the basketball court.
I think you underestimated. It was 800,000.
It was 800,000 square
Don't
feet.
be dramatic.
It was a Capitol building.
But that's what's been so cool is to see
Yeah.
such variation. I mean, the cabin in, I don't know how you even found it, you know,
Yes.
but it's been so rad to see the different types of projects that you've been able to do. And I don't know, I think that's it speaks a lot to your ability, right? Is to adapt and have fun and enjoy all different sizes of things.
I mean, we had no idea what we were getting into.
Yeah.
TV is like so time consuming. And I think we knew it was going to be. We didn't realize how.
Dude, it's gnarly.
Do your girls like it? Like how do the girls handle the film crew? Like when my kids get guests come to the house, it is like they flip the switch and it's like, you guys are insane. Stop. So like, how do you handle like having people around and like filming? Like, do they act normally? Because they seem super normal.
We try to be pretty mindful of how like the availability of like the kids to filming. And so we've been really precise on like, hey, you're going to have an hour and a half to film with them because we still have like their school and their classes. And
Like we're not taking our kids out of school and they're not missing lessons.
They're doing
because
all their stuff, right? So like, I think
our kids have had cameras though in their faces, and not to this degree. And of course, someone always ends up getting hurt, and then
so
we're
we can
like,
relate
okay,
to the
hold
royal
on,
family.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
You know,
Are
we
you
get
trapped?
it.
Sid,
right?
Are you trapped?
Are you
Twice if you're
trapped?
I got you. Oh, you just
I'll
blinked
wear a
twice.
yellow shirt.
Blink twice.
You know? Oh, I know that one too.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, they're natural on camera. But I feel like we're really protective about like, they'll ask questions like, can they ride their bikes here? And I'm like, no, because I don't want you to see this background or whatever
okay.
that may be.
Yeah.
But
For the most part, they're pretty good.
yeah.
It's really funny when they're not being good and you're like, I can't yell at you because we're on camera. So
and yeah.
please get it together.
You need to do a sign that you give them that when they see it, they're like, oh no, I'm in deep. You're like, great job.
The 3 fingers, no.
I'm going to tell you, my favorite part was the slide. That when I saw you blow up that, I'm not going to say it's gross or ratty or dirty.
It is.
But it was like, whoa, okay, that was unexpected. It's just kind of this really old blow up slide, and you just put a hose on. It wasn't even something that like attacked.
Always like Shay's like, hey, like at our last house, Shay's like, here's this
it
cute little trampoline. I think we should get one for the kids. It'll be fun. And I was like, okay. So I ordered like a 16-foot like in circumference trampoline. And I'm like, this is awesome. Like I want to be on it too. So same kind of thing. I feel like he sent me like a little baby slide thing, and I like bought the biggest inflatable.
It's not that it was just big.
And
It was
ugly.
like kind of
like has,
dirty,
like, duct
all the
tape
black.
on it,
yeah.
and
you
Well,
just
when you first pull it out, you had to spend a good 5 minutes like killing all the spiders and things that are because the guys are
my
like
gosh.
they'll be like, we got it, and then they're like going down and they go in the pool and they're like, there's another spider floating.
Oh
like,
my gosh.
you know, they're like freaking out and they're like, okay, we got it, we're good, you know.
But it was that hose that it wasn't like anything fancy. It was like, here's the hose. I'm like, hello, relatable, right? Because that feels so like you've got this beautiful home and all this fun stuff you're doing, that basketball court in the 800,000 square foot home, and then here's the hose on the
Yeah.
blow up slide. I was like, I love this. I'm in. Like that was like, I know it was toward the end.
We're a
I was
little
in
bit classy,
earlier,
a
but
little bit,
no, I love it.
you know,
I love
trashy,
it.
but we're like to have a good time.
So would you say, are you doing more episodes? Is it still going?
well, we have been on break, which has been wonderful.
Yeah.
And it's about to start up again. Things are gonna get crazy.
Did you do this intentionally?
It's gonna be with the GoPro
Oh.
in the delivery room. Like
Yeah.
I just
Are you really? Oh, I'm like, wait. I am so gullible.
Like,
right
You
now.
can't
Like
make
this-
those jokes with production because I like
No.
This is a
jokingly
whole
do that, and
new-
they're like, yeah,
That's a
would
great
you?
idea.
Would you though? Would you?
I'll send you an email. And I'm like, okay, bro, chill.
Like sign this release.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no.
yeah.
Did you do it intentionally? Kind of like the Target with was 6 episodes in 6? What was it? They released at different times.
You know, Netflix has like all sorts of reasons behind. Like that wasn't us like driving the 6 episodes. But it works out. The interesting thing, cool, is that Netflix has to translate the show into like several hundred languages.
Oh yeah.
And so it takes months after. And so because of COVID, we had taken some breaks. And so it worked out where that's how they launched it. I don't think it will be this way. I don't know if I can speak to that, but I don't think it'll be. I think it'll be just a longer season.
Because it's like you could binge it and then you had a
Yeah.
break and then you could binge it
yeah.
again, and it was like new content. I don't know.
Yeah.
Put in a good word. Say this one lady was like, you should do 6 again. So I don't know. Just want to. Anyway, no, that was awesome.
Yeah, so where it's about.
And she was saying this thing
I'm
about
like, you
like
know,
baritones and like sopranos.
Yeah, and
stuff.
then like to get my tramp
We
stamp
gotta tell you.
removed. Sorry, did I say that? No, my back tattoo.
My lower back.
My lower back tattoo.
tattoo.
I was just thinking that's what you're going to say, why it didn't work with HGTV, because he was putting the garbage in and they saw the communication is
Little
key.
midriff,
Oh, no,
yeah.
collaboration is key. He's like, no, don't show my tattoo. Collaboration is key.
They're like, yeah, we'll call you. That didn't affect anything.
It didn't do anything. You're great. We love you.
Well, thank you guys so much. I know time is up, but thank you so much for coming on. This has
Yeah,
been
thank you guys.
so much fun. Anything specific you want to send people to or make that they're looking out for?
Target, your book,
I mean,
Yeah,
show,
I mean,
your
everything.
Your Instagram.
Yeah.
Shop our Target line. You can follow us on Instagram at Studio McGee and McGee & Co. And watch. We have hundreds of videos on YouTube, DIY, like how to style bookshelves and all that kind of good stuff. So that's a good place to follow us as well.
Cool.
Yep.
Awesome.
Thank you guys so much.